Now let's talk some more news, shall we? Kareem Hunt's coming back to the Chiefs on a one-year contract worth up to $2.5 million. In 13 games last season, the 8-year pro led Kansas City with 728 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns. And with DeMarcus Lawrence now in Seattle, Dallas turned to a familiar face in pass rusher Dante Fowler. He played for the Cowboys in 2022 and 23 before leaving with defensive coordinator Dan Quinn to join the Commanders last year.
We're just getting
NFL, where Kirk Cousins isn't going anywhere, at least for now. The Falcons kept the veteran QB on their roster past 4 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. That triggered the guarantee on a $10 million roster bonus due in 2026. Cousins was benched in Week 16 after throwing 9 picks and 1 touchdown in a stretch of 5 games. We now welcome in our NFL insider, Jeremy Fowler, with us right now. And Cousins, as I mentioned, benched in Week 16. The keys were handed to the rookie Michael Penix Jr., but it looks like Cousins is staying in Atlanta, at least for the foreseeable future. What's the Falcons' plan with the quarterback?
Well, I continue to hear that the Falcons are not overly motivated to move Kirk Cousins right now. They're willing to be patient. As one team source told me, what's the rush? We've already locked into $37.5 million in additional guarantees for 2025 moving forward. And so they're going to kind of feel this out. It might be 2 months, it might be 2 weeks, it might be 6 months. They haven't made that sort of firm determination as far as how long he'll be in a Falcons uniform. But the sense I get from teams is it simply would just take a big financial package because they need a lot of money to try to offset that $37 million. They need somebody to step in. So Cleveland has scoured the earth for quarterback help. Yeah. We know that. They have familiarity with Kevin Stefanski, the head coach, a former coordinator for Kirk Cousins. So Cleveland is still a team to watch until they fill that void at that spot. But they don't have a lot of money to spend. Yeah. That's part of the issue.
Yeah, you got to have some money if you're going to bring a quarterback. And speaking of quarterbacks, some big-name QBs still looming on the free agency market. What's the latest around the league, starting with, of course, Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, well, I'm told from sources that Rodgers does have standing offers from the Pittsburgh Steelers and New York Giants. I checked with a source from one of those teams about a timeline for Rodgers. I got back a text with the Webster's Dictionary of the word enigma. And so that's kind of the feeling right now. Teams are waiting this out, waiting on Rodgers. The feeling is there's not just a money consideration here. There's fit, there's surroundings, all those things. Minnesota Vikings are sort of on the periphery here. Sources there tell me that it's possible they get involved with Rodgers, but the feeling this week has been probably not. They want to develop J.J. McCarthy. Then you got Russell Wilson. So he made 2 visits this week. Cleveland Browns on Thursday, New York Giants on Friday. So he is really in that number 2 seat. Whatever Rodgers decides, Wilson can move accordingly. I'm told that he's considered the New York Giants a viable option for a while now. So certainly that could be the place depending on how all this shakes out with the dominoes. And look, Russell can decide, hey, do I want to just go sign with Cleveland right now? Do it ahead of Rodgers. He has at least that option. We'll see. And then you got the Cincinnati Bengals are going to spend a lot of money coming up. They are close to deals with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, both their receivers. We're looking at probably $70 million a year in an investment for both of those. Talking to teams, they expect Chase's new deal to have a 4 in front of it. Maybe even $41 million is the highest paid non-quarterback. Higgins will probably come in somewhere just under $30 million. That's the feeling right now. Trey Hendrickson, too, they got a pass rusher. He wants to be paid. He wants a trade if Cincinnati's not going to pay him. Yeah. They've still been quietly negotiating a little bit, trying to find a sweet spot, but there are teams interested in making a trade. So we'll see if they can pull off paying all 3. It's going to be really tough.
A lot of big price tags in Cincinnati right now, but all worthy of being paid as well. Jeremy Fowler with the latest.
To the NFL, let's talk free agency. Cooper Kupp's got a new home, and it's his old home. Check that out. Washington across my chest, or back across my chest. Let's go. Let me explain. The longtime Rams signing a deal with the Seahawks. 3 years, $45 million. The former Super Bowl MVP and Offensive Player of the Year was drafted by the Rams out of Eastern Washington in 2017, but he grew up near Seattle, hence the tweet, Washington back across my chest. So he is back home. And you look at Seattle, Cooper Kupp should prove to be a bona fide threat from the slot for the newly acquired quarterback Sam Darnold. No longer on the team are DK Metcalf, who was traded to the Steelers, and Tyler Lockett, who was released. Both ranked top 7 in team history in catches, receiving yards, and touchdowns.
We're back on February 3rd. Myles Garrett requested a trade from the Browns. He said he wanted out.
Yep.
But Friday, Garrett was at a news conference in Cleveland talking about his new contract with the Browns. It seems he had a change of heart, right?
Yeah, $40 million a year can do that. Well, if it were me. But back then, he said the goal was to compete for the Super Bowl. So now, fresh off becoming the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history for the 3-win Browns team, whose biggest offseason free agent signing was Kenny Pickett, where does he stand on winning mattering most?
Just having constant communication with the team, with AB. We're just management in general, talking about the plans and the future of this team and how we can turn this around and turn Cleveland into a winner as soon as possible. That media road run, that created more discourse between myself and management. That created conversation between myself and AB, Jimmy, and up and down the chain, and that kind of stuff became a main variable for this deal getting done. These conversations down the road. So I think the fans will see that my heart's in the right place. It's never been about money. It's always been about winning, and that's where my frustration lies.
May get a little more frustrated because the odds makers don't foresee too much team success for the Browns this upcoming season. Only 4 teams have worse odds to win the Super Bowl. Only 2 teams have worse odds to win the conference, and they have the longest odds to win their division. And for what it's worth, though, Myles Garrett is the favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year, so there's that. And there's also this. Garrett ran into Russell Wilson when he met with the Browns on Thursday. His pitch to him, I won't have to take you down 3 to 4 times a year. True, but not sure that worked. Wilson left the Browns Thursday without a deal. He met with the Giants on Friday, but also left there without a deal. Wilson spent last season in Pittsburgh, where he could still return.
Breaking news into SportsCenter, Adam Schefter reporting that receiver Cooper Kupp has a new home, signing with the Seahawks, staying in the NFC West. Was released by the Rams after 8 seasons when they couldn't find a trade. Kupp had a Triple Crown receiving season back in 2021. He has, of course, been limited by injury since, part of the reason that they had the split in LA. But in Cooper Kupp, Seattle gets one of the most effective slot receivers in the league. We just heard Ben Solak react to the fact they already had one of the most effective slot receivers in the league. Over the last 4 seasons, no player has more touchdown catches when lined up in the slot than Kupp, and only CeeDee Lamb had more receiving yards, Kev.
All right, let's stay here with the NFL. Free agent quarterback Russell Wilson touring potential teams in New York today, talking to the Giants. Yesterday, he visited the Browns. Myles Garrett, fresh off signing his record deal, talked about his pitch to Russ. Listen to this.
Him and I had a little bit of conversation at the Pro Bowl, as well as here, and I definitely think he'd be a valuable asset as a leader, as a mentor to those young guys. That veteran leadership can't be understated, and I think he definitely has some juice left at the position. He's plenty of arm left. He's very smart, and he knows what he's capable of. So that's my pitch. I won't take him to the ground 3 or 4 times a year.
NFL insider Jeremy Fowler joining us once again. Jeremy, what more can you tell us about Russell Wilson's tour this week now that he has met with the Giants?
Well, Russell Wilson has really spent the last 24 hours or so in the New York area meeting with the Giants. He left Cleveland yesterday afternoon, got in early for some dinner to meet with some Giants folks throughout this process. And as far as I know, he has not left yet, so it seems like it's been a meeting that's going well. Cleveland's meeting yesterday was more exploratory in nature. They were just kind of getting to know each other a little bit. They didn't talk hard business or numbers. But the reality is that Wilson stands as really the number 2 in Pittsburgh and New York as we await a decision from Aaron Rodgers, who appears to be, by everybody I've talked to in the league, the number 1 option. And so Wilson has always looked at the Giants, though, at least for the last month, as a viable option for himself. So it could shake out the way he expected.
All right, so Wilson was 15th in the league with 7.4 yards per attempt. You mentioned Aaron Rodgers. What are you hearing about his talks with teams as he contemplates his future?
Well, from what I'm told from a source with knowledge of the situation is that Rodgers has offers from both Pittsburgh and New York. As far as everybody knows, he has not made any sort of firm determination on which offer to take. I don't really get the sense that this is all about the money. Certainly it's about fit, ability to win. Both areas, Pittsburgh and New York, have something to offer that are a little different. The prevailing theme from talking to people around the league is that Pittsburgh's the better football decision. New York might be the better decision for sentiment. You know, he was in New Jersey the last 2 years, has a home there. New York's a big marketing hub. So certainly a lot of things that Rodgers is likely weighing. And I checked with somebody with the Minnesota Vikings. I know they are sort of loosely in this thing. I talked to a source who said that it's possible, but probably unlikely at the end of the day because the Vikings are dedicated to J.J. McCarthy's development first and foremost.
Maybe that door still being open, like he's saying, it's possible, is holding everything up with the dominoes. Rodgers, by the way, 8th in the league with 3,897 passing yards this past season.